Hello everyone, this is Impulse, and today I got something really cool to show you guys. What I am looking at right here, what I got in front of me, is an AFK-able cow farm. And what I mean by that is you can actually use this farm without even being at your computer. So you can get yourself started here breeding cows up, actually walk away, go to dinner, go to school, go to bed, what have you. And when you come back in the morning, or whenever the time is, you're going to have all this loot waiting for you. And literally you didn't even really have to do much at all to get it. So let me show you how it works here just real quick. Got some wheat in here that we've stocked up, and basically when you hop in here it's going to activate this tripwire. It's going to start spitting wheat at you at the same time. You're going to get these cows jumping up and down. You start holding right click, you see the hearts, they're going into breed mode, and they're going to make some babies. And those babies are going to go down this little water canal. You're going to go up the chute, going to come on over here, and whoa, they're going to run into the parent cows in there. That's going to push them over, and eventually these guys are definitely going to make their way into lava because these guys get a little squirmy in there, and they're gonna grow up and burn in that lava. And underneath that we got some hoppers there just to collect those goodies and send them on through to that chest right there. Of course, you can station it wherever you want. It's just thought it would be nice to have them nice and neat, so you can stock up on the wheat and get your return on investment right there. All right, another thing I want to mention here is we actually have another mode. So if you don't want to AFK, you actually want to, breed them and wait for them to grow up, and then get yourself like a looting 3 sword with maybe some fire aspects so you can still get the steak that's cooked already. You basically hit that button, it'll retract that lava there, so you can see now when they grow up, they're not going to die, they're just going to stay in there. And once they're fully grown, you can just hop on top of this dropper there, and you got full access to swing away at them with your looting sword or whatever you want to do there. So you also have that as well. Of course, you're not going to be wanting to kill babies, so wait for them to grow up if you're going to do that. But yeah, totally capable of having that option as well. So alright guys, that's pretty much all the features and how it works. Now let's step into the how to build it part of the tutorial here. Okay, so before we jump into the tutorial, I just want to let you guys know that there is a list of all the materials you're going to need to build this thing from start to finish in the description below the video. So if you need to pause the video, check that out and make sure you get all that stuff gathered. Now would be the time to do that. And if you're following along, just make sure you have all that stuff ready to go. So basically, I have this platform here. This is going to be the entrance of the cow farm. If you want it flush with the ground, of course you can do that. Just be prepared to do a little digging as we go along. I'm just going to build it above ground here so you guys can see it a little better. So we're going to just bring out a couple blocks here just to give us a little space between where our entrance is and where the cows are actually going to be. And then we're going to go 4 blocks underneath it, just like that. And we're going to have a sticky piston facing up, like that, with a block on top and another block next to that. So it should look just like that. And now what we want to do is kind of fill out the bottom here. This is where the water channel is going to go. And we're going to come out one more. And then we need to build a wall up around this. So we're going to I'm going to use glass just so you guys can see kind of how the water's flowing and all that kind of stuff. You do not have to use glass if you don't want to. You can use solid blocks, of course. So, okay, that's great. So the cows are basically going to sit right here. And then they're going to shoot out both in this direction, so across this top block, and also out the sides here. So we're going to need to bring this wall up one more, just like that. And then we can put our water in here shortly, but we want to create a place for it to go first. So we're going to bring this out 3 more, just like that. The wall's actually going to come in like that, and we'll do the same thing on this side. Bring that in and up another layer here. Just like that, okay? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put a stair right there facing inward. And now we can actually put our water sources in without them flooding everywhere. And you should see them kind of meet in the middle there and be pushing towards that stair block. Now we're going to have to put a couple signs in because we're going to have water source flowing in from that block right there. And we want to stop it from kind of falling in with the other water there. So 2 signs, one on that side, one on that side, and then we're going to place a couple more blocks here just like that. So 1, 2 there, just like that, and then we're going to put a sign right here, and that's going to stop that water source from flowing all the way over here. And now we have basically this channel for the cows to get shot into, and they'll start to go up an elevator, which we're going to create right now. And basically we're going to have a sign right there. And then we can build a cow elevator. And in order to do that, we'll put a block back here, and then we'll just kind of build a little tunnel coming up here, or a little elevator. And we're just going to go up a few blocks for now. And then we'll do the same thing on the side walls here. It's not necessary, but it just does look better. And then grab your fences here, and we'll go up a couple just like that. So 5 fences there, and we'll need to come back in and place our water. So make sure you get every single block here with a source block of water. So right above the stairs, above that, there, and there. And it should look just like that. Okay, the next step is to create a little water channel to carry them over to their holding cell. So we're just going to go ahead and extend this up one more, put a block in front of that fence post, and then come 2 more out on that side, 1 more out on that side for now. And we're going to put a sign right there to stop the water flow. So when we put our water source in, it should flow 3 blocks over across the top of that fence post there and then stop because of that sign. Now what we need to do is kind of fill in some of these blocks here so there's nowhere for these guys to go. So we'll just kind of make that wall solid. And they're going to drop down 1 block, and then they're going to be standing on top of some hoppers. So what we need to do is get some hoppers started. And we're going to plop one down right there and then basically create a chain. So you want to come over 2 and then over 2 more. And now we're going to actually have a hopper in the side of that one and then one facing in the side of that one. And now let's go ahead and fill this in the rest of the way so that we have a solid chamber for them to be in. So just blocks on either side just like that. And again, it's up to you if you want to fill it in completely, but I think it does look better. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in the dispenser now with the lava, and we can do that simply by putting a block right there. That's going to be where the dispenser actually sits, and so you can put it up against the side of that there. Go ahead and put your lava bucket on the inside, and you can see right now if we hit the button, that lava would actually flow out and everywhere. We want to put a sign down to catch it right there, and then we need to get our half slab in to keep it from going out on this side. So you can put that in right like that, and then go ahead and fill in a few more blocks surrounding this as well. So just to finish that out, and then we'll bring that up as well. So it should look just like that. Now on the back side here, we're going to need to put a button, and now we can test it to make sure the lava stays exactly in that 1 square like it's supposed to. Okay, and now we need to put a trapdoor basically above the sign here, and what that does is it just kind of helps to keep some of the baby cows from getting a little too squirmy and jumping directly into that lava there. So they'll actually hit that as they're coming across and then fall down just missing the lava. So we can put a solid block there to do that, and then we need to enclose this thing so that these guys aren't just jumping right out of the water stream as they come through here. So we'll go ahead and just get that whole thing enclosed in glass like that, and then come across the top so there's absolutely no way out for these guys whatsoever. So it should look like that when you're done. Okay, so now we're going to come around to the front of this guy here, and you can see a space in front of that hopper there. We're going to put a solid block right there, and now we need to put in our dropper that's going to be spitting out the wheat at us. So take out that block right there, put a dropper in right there, and then we're going to be putting one facing up underneath it, and then a hopper that's going to be going into that. And that way, basically, as the wheat starts to spit out, it will create a loop that goes back into the dropper system. And now we can temporarily place a block there because we're going to be needing to get the cows in some way into the holding cell down there. So before we do that, let's go ahead and put the water in. You're going to want to put it right here. There should be an opening for you. Just put the water in right there and then put a block behind that to keep it from spilling everywhere. And it should flow right underneath the dropper just like that, 3 blocks over, and stop because of that sign in there. And when the piston extends, which is actually behind this block here, then it will cut off the water and they'll just kind of stand there. And we'll be wiring that up later to the system so that it automatically turns the water on and off for you. So I guess the next step would be to actually get the cows in here. What I can probably suggest here is maybe just build yourself a little guardrail just like that. Take out that half slab and then just kind of bring them over with wheat or whatever and just push them in. That should get them down in that one wide hole there. And so just do that kind of over and over again. Once you get a couple in there, you can actually turn that lever off and breed them. And of course you would need to block any way out. So if you have the piston extended like that, you can actually just breed them just like that. You just need to kind of get to their different hit boxes. Hopefully they're staggered a little bit, but yeah, probably the easiest way is to push them in just like that. Okay, so I got about 10 of them in there now. We can go ahead and flip the lever. Let's see if they get hopping up and down in the water. And you should be able to now take that block out. And you can see now when you're standing on top of this hopper, you have access to breed them just right there, which is absolutely perfect. So, okay, let's start wiring up the tripwire and all the redstone that's going to automatically create that switch for you next. So I'll get that stuff in your inventory and we'll get started on that. Okay, so let's begin by hooking up the tripwire into the clock, basically, that's going to have these droppers continually shoot the wheat at you. So on both sides of that dropper there, you're going to want to place some glowstone, and that's just so the tripwire is able to actually go across it. And then we're going to come up block above it right there. That's where we're actually going to put the hooks themselves, and then we can put the tripwire in. And on the back of this here, we're going to want to put a torch. And like I said before, we're going to be changing these hoppers here to actually have the clock right underneath them. So there we're going to put two hoppers facing into each other just like that. And so that way, as soon as this torch turns off, you're going to get an item here. I'll just put one of these ink sacs in there, kind of traveling back and forth there. And then we're temporarily going to break this block right there and this one right there. And another one down. Hopefully this doesn't cause a problem with the cows. Let's see here. Nope, we're good. And we can put a comparator there, and that's going to get the signal from that hopper. And now we can actually fill that block back in with glass. And there you go. All right, so now what we should have is when we step into that, you see that comparator flashing on and off. In order to get all the droppers working, we're going to need to put a redstone dust on top of that hopper there. So you might have to break that string and put it back. And there we go. And let's go ahead and just toss some stuff down into this hopper here, and let's see if it actually will start shooting out. And there you go. You can see now they're being activated by that clock and shooting out. And we'll just get that completely empty here. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the line to turn the water on and off so that the cows won't constantly be jumping in water even when you're not there. To do that, we're just going to need to put a torch along the back of that block there, and we're going to need to replace some of these with solid blocks here. So that's going to light that line up right there. We're going to come over one, put some redstone dust on top of that, and then we're going to go down and over one more, redstone dust there, and again down and over one more, redstone dust there. Now we can take that out, and we're going to go ahead and put a repeater going into that block, and then just connect the dust just like that, and that should now extend that piston so that the cows are no longer jumping. And then when you stand in the tripwire, that will detract the piston, and they'll be able to get that water and jump, and your clock can start. Okay, so now let's put our chests in that we're going to be storing our wheat in. So you can just place the chest right there is the way I like to do it. Another one right there. So we're going to put our wheat on the left side, and then have all of our output from the farm go to this right side here. Oh, and I just noticed that I took out that half slab to bring the cows in. Make sure you put that back there, otherwise your babies are just going to escape. All right, so we will start with feeding the output line. So basically all the cooked steak and leather, we're going to bring it down, and those will actually go through this first hopper chain here, if you remember. And we're going to go ahead and break these two blocks out because we want to put some hoppers underneath it, but if we did that, it would suck the item from the clock out. So we're actually going to put a chest there, and now we can break that out, hopper into that, and then you're going to fix the orientation of that hopper. So it comes over, down, and then into the chest. Now what we need to do is we're going to be pulling the items out the bottom of the chest and bringing them around to a dropper. So we're going to come underneath this chest and actually do two droppers, and they need to be facing upwards into the chest. So just come down like that with a couple blocks so you can face the droppers facing upwards. So go ahead and do that one, and then shift click to do another one on top of that. And we'll go ahead and now bring the hopper chain directly into that dropper there, and then bring it over underneath the chest. Okay, so now what we want to do is actually hook up our chest that we're having for wheat to this dropper system that's going to be spitting the wheat out as you're AFKing. So just come behind this one here. The dropper's already facing into it. That's the spot where you stand on. And just put one hopper facing into that, and then another one into that that's directly underneath the chest. And that should do it. So that should be able to suck the wheat out of that chest right there and bring them over to where you're AFKing. Okay, so finally we need to install a clock on these droppers here, but first I need to make a little addendum to what I had you do before. I actually had you put these droppers on this side of the chest. We need them on this other side to give us room to do that. So you want to change that out, sorry about that. Bring them up here, so you take those two out, fix this hopper right there to go into that, and then that's all fixed. And now we can actually have a little bit of room here to put the item elevator in, basically. And in order to do that, we're going to do a comparator into that block right there. So it's going to sense the items coming into this dropper. It's going to create a signal, and we're going to get a redstone signal coming out of that into that right there. And we'll come over top of that and put a block there, a block on top of that dust right there. It's going to split that off, and now we can just carry that signal over with a repeater, and there you should have your clock. So basically any items that get put into here, let's split these up, that's too many, should go ahead and get sent up the item elevator into that chest there, just like that. And then we can move on to the next step, which is basically just kind of closing everything up. Okay, so I went ahead and encased the AFK area. Of course, like I said, this is something that you're going to want to design on your own, make it nice, look good however you like it. But I put an iron door in here. That way when we are in here AFKing, we won't have to worry about any mobs getting to us. And I just put a stone pressure plate there. It won't hurt any of the redstone build, and just a button there to get in. So you can come on in and you can stand here AFK, and you can see nobody can get in to attack you, and you'll be perfectly fine and safe. And then of course you're just going to need to fill up this chest with wheat so that you have wheat to breed the cows. And so I'll just go ahead and throw a couple stacks in there for now, just to prove that it's all going through the system okay. And you can see I'm already getting some in my inventory, and I can just hold down right click as the cows are bouncing there. And one other thing I wanted to mention, because you might be wondering, you know, I said it was fully AFK-able, and yet you could just run out of wheat while you're AFK, and then it's not really going to keep going. So I do want to let you guys know that there is actually a fully automatic wheat farm out there that has been designed, and I'm going to put a link in the description for that. And what you could do then is basically just hook up your fully automatic wheat farm directly into that hopper right there and bring it over from that farm, and then basically you'd have an infinite supply of wheat to go along with your AFK sessions. So check out the description for that link. It's a pretty cool design. It will allow you to get wheat for days, or you can just use my nano farm as well and get a whole bunch of wheat stocked up, fill it up for a long AFK session, and by the end of it you should have plenty of steak and leather waiting for you in this chest. So I'm gonna go ahead, I breeded a couple cows here. I'm gonna go ahead and just wait for these guys to grow up, and then once they grow up and hit that lava, we'll make sure that their items are traveling through the system into our chest here on the right. All right, there we go. Now you see this guy didn't catch on fire there from the lava, but what's going to happen is the next time you breed, the next baby's going to come up and nudge him over there, and he will meet his demise for sure. So that's not really that big of a deal, but let's go ahead and check and make sure that all the items made it over here like we expected them to. We should have, there we go. We got 3 leather, 3 steak, so that's perfect. It's working great. Alright guys, so that's it for the tutorial, and hopefully you guys are able to build this in your own world and get tons of steak and leather. Again, check out the description for links to the other tutorials on how to AFK. If you don't know the trick to get your mouse button to basically be held down on the right click there. And I think that one's by Azumavoid. And also the other link in the description will be for the automatic wheat farm. So check that out so you can hook up an automatic wheat farm, and then you can basically just AFK for days if you like. So alright guys, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing. And with that said, I will see you guys again next time. Have a good one, everyone.